2021 council meeting to order. I think most people have heard in this city by now, but we tragically lost Mr. Bill Horn, our city manager of 21 years, this past Saturday. And as you can see, we have flowers and a picture of him with the Philly Fanatic. So the city is never going to be the same with this loss. But our prayers continue to go out to Loretta and the entire Horn family. There is going to be a memorial service at Calvary, which is at the corner of Drew and McMullen this Saturday at 11 a.m. Anyone can attend. We do ask that you wear a mask. So we look forward to that celebration of life, a wonderful life, and a man who made such an impact in this city in so many ways. He is going to be missed, and he was taken too soon. But we were lucky to have had him at all. So if you would join me in standing for the invocation given by Bishop James Ope from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, Bishop.
Good evening. Our Father in heaven, we thank Thee for the opportunity we have to be here this evening. We ask Thee for a special blessing on the Horn family, that they will feel Thy love and know that Thee is always there for them, and that they will know that they will see their husband and father again someday. And we give you this blessing that the city council and the mayor will be able to have a special blessing on them, that they will be able to feel the Spirit and have good health and strength, and that they will be able to overcome any illness. And we ask Thee for others that stand in need at this time, for medical help, but also for guidance in what decisions to make. And we give this blessing in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Bishop, for those words. We appreciate you coming out this evening. We're going to start with some service awards, and frankly, when I look at the number of years of service, this must have been prior to child labor laws. I cannot believe that Tassie Langford has been with us for 20 years with the police department. So Tassie, if you'll come up.
Tassie Langford began her career with the Clearwater Police Department on August 13, 2001, as a telecommunications operator. She became closely involved in the training of new employees by becoming a communications training officer, and it was her passion for training that ultimately led to her promotion to training supervisor in 2014, where she was instrumental in a number of significant enhancements to the program. In addition to her regular duties, Tassie serves as the sole local agency security officer for the agency, responsible for complying with all state and federal security requirements needed for every employee, vendor, and visitor who requires access to the police facilities. She also served on the Critical Incident Stress Management team for over 10 years. Tassie is no stranger to being recognized for her efforts. She received the Communications Center Team Award for March-April 2010, and the Communications Bi-Monthly Team Award for January-February 2011. She was also the recipient of the Department's Chiefs Unit Citation and the Award of Excellence. Ultimately, Tassie's hard work paid off as she was promoted to Police Communications Assistant Manager in August of 2020. Tassie recently admitted that throughout the different positions she has held, she has always worked hard to make sure that everyone gets home safe at the end of the day. She is proud of that fact and attributes our communications training program for playing a role in helping to assure it stays that way. Congratulations to Tassie for 20 remarkable years of dedicated service to the City of Clearwater and the Clearwater Police Department.
Tassie brought flowers for Mr. Horn, but I also believe that there's an additional surprise for you this evening. Tassie's brother James is driven all the way from Washington, D.C. to be a part of this evening. And James's son, James. So,
my brother serves on the presidential motorcade.
Come on to the mic so everybody can hear you.
My brother serves on the presidential motorcade in Washington, D.C., and he's been a police officer for over 20 years. And part of his decision became part of my decision, and I am so very proud of him and to be here right now. So, thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Well, we're proud of all of you. James, thank you for your service to the nation as well. And drive safely home when that time comes. Yeah, I think sleep is in order. Next, I'd like to call up David Wilson from Parks and Recreation for 25 years of service.
Dave Wilson began his career with the City of Clearwater as a recreation leader in 1996. He's one of the first employees at the brand new Countryside Recreation Center. Dave spent the next 21 years at Countryside. He was promoted to recreation programmer in 2004 and again in 2007 to facility supervisor. In 2017, Dave was selected to be the recreation center manager for the new Morningside Recreation Complex. Dave was involved in every aspect of opening this new facility, from building design to selection of staff and equipment and creation of activities, classes, and programs. The building opened in late 2018 and is one of the busiest recreation facilities in Clearwater. Dave is an outstanding work ethic, leads by example, and always has a positive can-do attitude. Dave is also very creative and has come up with some unique community events such as the Morningside Aquatic Easter event. That is a creative one. I like it. Friday night Frenzy, that's a Friendzy, and the annual Polar Plunge. Dave has received many accolades over his 25 years, including the Recreation Programming Employee of the Year for 2015. Dave is an outstanding employee, but he is also a very dedicated father to his two sons, Noah and Luke, and a supportive husband to his wife, Tracy, who also works for the city. Recently, Dave beamed with pride as he told the story of how Noah made his first leap off the diving board at Morningside and swam to the side, thus completing the requirements of the swim test. It is being able to provide these moments of joy for others in the community that motivates Dave to do his best, very best each day. Dave's contribution to the City of Clearwater and its citizens is immeasurable. He has positively impacted and helped strengthen both the Countryside and Morningside communities by providing quality education opportunities to participants of all ages. Congratulations, Dave Wilson, on 25 years at the City of Clearwater.
Congratulations, Dave. Thanks for all the service.
Congratulations. Thank you. Nice mug.
And now I'd like to call forward Robert Bluno from Public Utilities for the Employee of the Month Award for July 2021.
In general, Robert always has a positive attitude which radiates towards the people around him. For the past few months, Robert took on a very large project. He repainted all of the piping, pumps, floor grates, and air reliefs in the high-service pump room at the water treatment plant number 1. As we all know, painting gets old fast, but Robert stayed consistent. This is a project that Robert did on top of his daily tasks as a water treatment plant operator. Having this done improved the aesthetics of the building and motivated others to organize other areas of the high-service pump room building. Great job, Robert. Robert Bluno, July 2021 Employee of the Month.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Congratulations, thank you.
Thanks.
Now I would like to call forward Chief Abrams from Coast Guard Station Sand Key. Chief Abrams is new to Coast Guard Station Sand Key, but is moving up from St. Pete. And as a Coast Guard city, we keep very close contact with both Air Station Clearwater and Station Sand Key, and I want everybody to be introduced to Chief Abrams. So Chief, if you could just tell us, the mic's right there, just what's going on out at the station. I had the opportunity to go out and meet, but I wanted you just to give a little bit of an overview of what's new and also how we can work with our Coast Guard.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate it. So my name's Tim Abrams. I'm the officer in charge at Station St. Key, and like I said, I appreciate you inviting me out here, Mayor, and really to the people that we serve. We are a 35-member active duty unit that's out there for search and rescue and work a lot with our law enforcement partners on the water, just being able to kind of protect everything. Kind of our future that we're looking for once we're beyond the pandemic is to be able to open up our doors and then to be able to kind of host more open houses for the public to be able to come out and see what we're all about. Additionally, trying to provide some info back into the news and to the people of Clearwater about some of the trends that we're seeing now on the water, dealing with maybe the illegal charter vessels that are in this area, and trying to help people understand that, hey, that's not who you want to hire. You know, cheap service isn't good and good service isn't cheap, and trying to make sure that people understand that, and then really to help support that community who depend upon us for their licensing and to ensure that everything actually is legal and safe for them. But other than that, like I said, really want to be able to open up the doors once we're beyond this pandemic, and once the president helps all of the armed service to be able to say, hey, we want visitors to be able to come back in, but we'd like to be able to see y'all out. So thank you, Mayor.
Well, there's some great folks out there, and we're very, very appreciative of oftentimes the Coast Guard saving us from ourselves. And it's, you know, they're always doing rescues and also helping people with boater safety. So we appreciate you coming tonight. I know it's a long drive home, but we look forward to getting together with you again soon.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
God bless.
Thank you.
I was remiss in not introducing the dais. Our interim city manager, Micah Maxwell, Vice Mayor Hoyt Hamilton,
Good evening.
Councilmember David Albritton,
Good evening.
Councilmember Kathleen Beckman,
Good evening.
Councilmember Mark Bunker,
Good evening.
and our illustrious city attorney, Pam Aiken.
Good evening.
I would ask if there are any amendments to the minutes of the August 5th, 2021 meeting.
Move approval of the minutes as submitted by our extremely efficient city clerk's office. I had to give her a little, I had to give her a little
love
too. So,
Do I have a second?
second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. This time I'd like to open it up to citizens to be heard. If there are any citizens in the audience that would like to speak to items that are not on the agenda, please fill out a comment card, and we ask you to come up, state your name, and respectfully to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Patrick Raftery. I'm a Clearwater resident from Countryside area. I have 2 items I'd like to bring to your attention directly, if I might, tonight. The first one is at the last council meeting on 5th of August, Greenpoint 2.0 was adopted by the council unanimously and well received by the audience that was in attendance at that meeting. There was some discussion about adjusting the objectives for that Greenpoint 2.0. but I think it was resolved that we would remain with the objective set by the Sheridan Group. And therefore, I've been involved in projects where, as you put systemic activities in place to meet an objective, once that objective is met, you don't stop and say, we've met the objective, we can stop. You continue going so that you may exceed it. For that reason, I think the decision to keep the goals as originally set is the proper thing. My suggestion is that as we adopted that on the 5th of August, that perhaps the council will see fit to require a report annually, perhaps as close to that 5th of August date as possible, as to how well we've achieved against those objectives. We certainly may not expect to hit them all on the first year, but we can show progress. And if we're not showing the progress that we're entitled to, we may find changes that we have to make, or keeping flexible to make adjustments to what we're doing to try and meet those goals. So my suggestion is an annual report to be given in public to the council as well as the citizens close to that 5th of August date as possible. The second thing I'd like to just address is the sudden and tragic passing of the city manager, Bill Horn, on this past Saturday. I would like to suggest to the council, and I'm certain it's going to be considered, that we attempt to establish some type of permanent memorial to Mr. Horn, particularly his contributions to the city over 21 years of service to the city as a civil servant, to multiple administrations and multiple council members who may have their own agenda. I always felt that Mr. Horn sought consensus by presenting the facts to the decision makers so that they could make a proper decision in the best interest of the city. And for that reason, we have gone very well with respect to his guidance and leadership, and I think his contribution to the city needs to be memorialized in some fashion in a permanent way. Perhaps it might be the amphitheater with Imagine Clearwater. My personal suggestion is that you consider the memorial bridge leading to Clearwater Beach from the city of Clearwater, if it's possible, to be renamed in his honor. As much for the magnificent structure that is, but for also the fact that it connects the Clearwater Beach area to the Clearwater proper area, areas that Mr. Horn devoted himself to over the last 20 years of his career, and the council and the various administrations have made very successful. So therefore, my suggestion to you is to give that some strong consideration. If that is not acceptable, pick another one to honor him.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Well, I had every intention of bringing that up at some point, but I also would like his widow to be involved in that decision-making process, what would make her happy, but I do believe that we will have a permanent naming opportunity for Mr. Horn in the not-too-distant future. Anyone else for citizens to be heard?
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. I'm Sheila Neisler. I own Catalyst, a marketing company at the Ring, 600 Cleveland Street, Suite 291. It all started with a purple coat, an indelible experience etched in the mind of Marie Bouchard McClung memory. On one of those rare, cold Florida mornings, Terry, her sister, a teacher, and Marie, who's a volunteer with a teacher's heart, encountered a little girl who couldn't go outside because she didn't have a coat. Terry, the teacher, called Marie and said, please go to the store quickly and buy a coat. Marie jumped into the car and bought a purple coat in just the right size and brought it to Terry's classroom. The purple coat was a hit. With her big brown eyes and open arms, Terry was hugged over and over, and she knew she had a friend for life. And that experience became the catalyst and the inspiration and the passion to serve children and their parents. She wanted every child to have the experience of pride and care and self-esteem in having clean new clothes. This purple coat became the inspiration for Jody Frisbee I and Marie, BFFs and Clearwater High School alums, to come together to create a not-for-profit to serve low-income families. Started in 2002, their idea was to provide a cheerful store environment whose families and children could actually shop with dignity and respect and get a week's worth of clothes free of charge.
I'm Megan DeBlasi, Development Director at Close to Kids. On June 11, 2003, the first Close to Kids store opened in Dunedin, providing a 1,200 square foot shopping space. We quickly outgrew that space and currently opened another store in Clearwater off North Hercules in 2005. Through generous donations by our community, this department store look and feel became a reality. In 2009, Close to Kids opened our second store in St. Petersburg. This made clothing more accessible to families in the South County. In summer of 2018, another Close to Kids store opened in the Tampa Bay, serving Hillsborough County. Jody and Marie had a vision to provide children with new and quality used clothing and a fun shopping environment, and they wanted all clothing to be free of charge. This was way more than just a good idea. To date, Close to Kids has distributed more than 160,000 wardrobes to our community. Since August 1st, 12 days that we've been open, all three stores, Tampa, St. Pete, and Clearwater, we have served more than 1,500 kids in our community with a wardrobe.
And it's for this reason that we've got two opportunities in the district. Number one, Dine Out for a Difference is next Thursday, a week from tonight. So all the money will go to them to basically provide, purchase undergarments and brand new shoes for the children. The second thing is, since we've already got the streets closed, we're going to close down the trolley. And between 3:30 and 5, 3 and 5:30 on Saturday, people can come in and drop off their clothes. There's going to be a drive-through, so we'll be collecting children's clothes. We're already collecting some that parents can drop off. So if the children have outgrown, if you've got families, the children have outgrown, teach them 2 lessons: sharing and recycling. Thank you.
But you do want very lightly used clothing.
Lightly, gently used
So
clothes.
it's a
and
great
gently
organization.
Thank
I
you.
served on the advisory board for many years. Thank you for all you're doing, and we hope everybody comes out and dines next Thursday.
Thank you, thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I mean, Jody and Marie were a year ahead of me in high school. Terry was in my class, and
Oh, wow, that's great.
and I know them all very well. And not only have they expanded in the area, but they've had organizations and people come in from all over the country to see what they do, to take their model back to other cities to create the same type thing. And it is such an unbelievable thing. And I know they one of the fun events they have, and I don't, is it an annual event still? The Drop Your Drawers?
Yes,
Drop Your
we're
Drawers?
just about to close it up at the end of August.
Yeah,
We've
it's-
collected
yeah.
over 22,000 pairs of new underwear for
There
the
you
kids.
go.
Yes.
Yeah,
We have 5 affiliates across the country.
it's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Thank you.
Other citizens to be heard.
Hi.
Good
Speaking
evening.
of classmates.
Yes, I went to school with Terry too, and Marie and Jody were ahead of me one year, as Hoyt was there and sang great. And Close to Kids is wonderful. I've gone there a few times, and what I do is I go to like TJ Maxx or Marshall's, where you can get clothes kind of inexpensively, nice ones, and just bring them some nice new clothes. Kids love that. So anyway, my name's Becca Kay, and I wanted to speak to you guys about the meeting that I went to on Tuesday afternoon for the Drew Street reconstruction. I wrote a couple notes for myself. Now, there had been some studies done, and I've been to several meetings in the past where they would show you a couple different options for these segments of the streets. And the meeting I went to on Tuesday, there was just one study for segments 2 and 3, and then there was 2 for segment 1, which is from Osceola to Myrtle. And there was a question about a right-of-way, or a problem with the right-of-way, an issue, and I asked, what is the issue? And the gentleman said it was funding. Why do we have an issue with funding when we're spending so much money just to the west of us, and we spend a lot of money downtown? And why were there just one options for segments 2 and 3? And mostly 3 looked okay, but there was quite a bit of discussion about segment 2 of Drew Street, which is between Keene and Myrtle. It seemed like, I watch my time, it wasn't feasible. There was a treed median in the middle of Drew Street with 1 lane going east, 1 lane going west. So us that live off of Drew Street would have to pull out, take a right, and then go and try to make a U-turn. If you've ever tried to make a U-turn on Cleveland Street, it doesn't work very well. So my opinion also is we need to stop spending money downtown on the beach and start looking into the neighborhoods. Our neighborhood has cracked curbs and sidewalks, another of other, just depressed areas need fixing up. Downtown's great, the beach is great, but let's work on our neighborhoods, shall we? Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Kay. We are going to have FDOT come back and give a presentation to the council at a work session, because I think those of us who watched or attended the other day have a lot of questions that remain as well.
Yeah, I do too, and, sorry.
So we'll make sure that you're aware of that meeting.
Yeah, because like I said, I've been to several other meetings, and I just want to get it resolved once
Okay.
and for all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else for citizens to be heard? Okay, I would ask if there are any items on the consent agenda, items 7.1 through 7.15, to be removed by the council or by citizens. Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.15.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 8.1.
Approve the annexation initial future land use map designation of residential low RL and initial zoning atlas designation of low medium density residential Lmdr district for 3036 Glen Oak Avenue North and pass ordinances 9478-21, 9479-21, and 9480-21 on first reading. Ms. Clayton.
Good evening, Gina Clayton, Planning and Development. The owners of this single-family property are requesting to annex in order to receive solid waste and sanitary sewer service. The owners have actually already paid their fees and hooked up. The property will be designated residential low on the future land use map and zoned Lmdr. Staff is recommending approval as the annexation is located in an enclave, is contiguous to city boundaries, and will not have an adverse impact on services.
Any questions for Ms. Clayton? Anyone from the public to speak to item 8.1? Have a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 8.1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9478-21, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real property located in the north side of Glen Oak Avenue and approximately Glen Oak Avenue North, approximately 180 feet east of Moss Avenue. His post office address is 3036 Glen Oak Avenue North, Clearwater, Florida 33759, into the corporate limits of the city and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said addition, providing an effective date.
Anyone to speak to the ordinance? Motion?
I move to pass ordinance 9478-21 on first reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Yes,
Ordinance
ma'am.
number 9479-21, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real property located on the north side of Glen Avenue North, approximately 150 feet east of Moss Avenue, whose post office address is 3036 Glen Avenue North, Clearwater, Florida 33759, upon annexation into the city of Clearwater as residential low RL, providing an effective date.
Anyone to speak to this ordinance? Have a motion?
I move to pass ordinance 9479-21 on first reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9480-21, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real property located in the north side of Glen Avenue North, approximately 150 feet east of Moss Avenue, whose post office address is 3036 Glen Avenue North, Clearwater, Florida 33759, upon annexation into the city of Clearwater as low-medium density residential, Lmdr, providing an effective date.
Anyone to speak to this ordinance?
I move to pass ordinance 9480-21 on first reading.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. 8.2.
Approve the annexation, initial future land use map designation of residential urban RU and initial zoning atlas designation of low medium density residential Lmdr district for 1272 Sediva Circle North, and pass ordinances 9484-21, 9485-21, and 9486-21 on first reading. Ms. Clayton.
The owner of this property is requesting to annex in order to receive all city services. Currently, it's under construction in the county, and when they complete it and receive their certificate of occupancy, we'll be able to move forward with second reading to get them into the city. The property is eligible for voluntary annexation. It's located in an enclave and it's contiguous to city boundaries. The property will be designated residential urban on the future land use map in zone low medium density residential. We are recommending approval as there will be no adverse impacts on services.
Any questions for Ms. Clayton? Have a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 8.2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9484-21, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real property located in the north side of Sediva Circle North, approximately 220 feet west of North Betty Lane, whose post office address is 1272 Sediva Circle North, Clearwater, Florida 33755, into the corporate limits of the city and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said addition, providing an effective date.
Anyone to speak to this ordinance?
I move to pass ordinance 9484-21 on first reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Ordinance number 9485-21, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real property located on the north side of Sediva Circle North, approximately 220 feet west of North Betty Lane, whose post office address is 1272 Sediva Circle North, Clearwater, Florida 33755, upon annexation into the city of Clearwater as residential urban RU, providing an effective date.
Anyone to speak to this ordinance? Have a motion?
Move to pass ordinance 9485-21 on first reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
Ordinance number 9486-21, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real property located on the north side of Sediva Circle North, approximately 220 feet west of North Betty Lane, whose post office address is 1272 Sediva Circle North, Clearwater, Florida 33755, upon annexation into the city of Clearwater as low medium density residential, Lmdr, providing an effective date.
Anyone to speak to this ordinance? Have a motion?
I move to pass ordinance 9486-21 on first reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 9.1.
Amend Clearwater Code of Ordinances Sections 2.226 through 2.229, addressing statutory mandated changes in Section 420.9076 Florida statutes, which sets forward requirements for establishing a local affordable housing advisory committee, and pass Ordinance 9438-21 on first reading. Mr. Lane.
Thank you, Chuck Lane, Economic Development and Housing Department. This ordinance addresses statutory changes that were made last year relating to a local government's responsibility to assemble an Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. The AHAC's responsibility is to evaluate city code, policies, ordinances, and anything else that might affect the cost or efficiency of building affordable housing. I believe changes in the statute that are captured by this ordinance will result in a stronger oversight with respect to how city policy affects the development of affordable housing. I'll be presenting an item at the next council meeting asking you to appoint the 2021 Affordable Housing Advisory Committee in accordance with this ordinance. As you know, that action will include the appointment of a council member. I'll take questions, please.
Any questions for Mr. Lane? Anyone from the public to speak to item 9.1? Have a motion?
Motion to approve agenda item 9.1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Ms. Hagan.
Ordinance number 9438-21, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida relating to the Neighborhood and Affordable Housing Advisory Board, amending Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 9A, Sections 2.226 through 2.229, providing for annual augmentation of the Neighborhood and Affordable Housing Advisory Board by resolution of the City Council, to appoint the Affordable Housing Authority Advisory Committee, providing for the appointment of an elected local official to the committee, providing that the elected local official attend biannual regional workshops, providing for the withholding of funds should elected official fail to attend workshops, providing for the annual review of policies and procedures, ordinances, land development regulations, and adopted local government comprehensive plan to facilitate affordable housing, and for the annual submission by the committee of a report regarding same to council, and the statewide agency overseeing the Affordable Housing Catalyst Program in accordance with Section 420.531 Florida statutes, providing an effective date.
Anyone from the public to speak to this ordinance? I have a motion.
Move to pass ordinance 9438-21 on first reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 9.2.
Approve the closure for an indefinite time to authorized and motorized vehicles of certain portions of Cleveland Street as described generally as the 400 and 500 blocks of Osceola and Garden Avenues, with all north-south streets remaining open, and adopt Resolution 21-31. Ms. Kivett.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tara Kivett, Engineering Director. This item requests your adoption of a resolution for the indefinite closure of the 400 and 500 blocks of Cleveland Street to unauthorized motorized vehicles, which remains in effect until the Council rescinds this via another resolution. Osceola and Fort Harrison will remain open to traffic. Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Kivett? Anyone from the public to speak to item 9.2? Have a motion?
Move approval of agenda item 9.2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Ms. Hagan.
Resolution number 21-31, a resolution of the City of Clearwater, Florida, approving the closure for an indefinite period of time of certain portions of Cleveland Street, as described herein, to unauthorized motor vehicles, specifically approving the closure of Cleveland Street from the east boundary of South Osceola Avenue to the west boundary of South Fort Harrison Avenue, the 400 block, and Cleveland Street from the east boundary of South Fort Harrison Avenue to the west boundary of South Garden Avenue, the 500 block, retaining an open roadway for one-way vehicular access from Watterson Avenue into and along the westbound Cleveland Street to South Fort Harrison Avenue, providing an effective date.
Anyone to speak to the resolution? Motion?
I move to adopt Resolution 21-31.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 9.3.
Amend Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 3, Purchasing by adding Section 2.5611K and new Subdivision 5, Public-Private Partnerships, and pass Ordinance 9502-21 on first reading. Mr. Kohler.
Owen Kohler, Lead Assistant City Attorney. This ordinance amends the Code of Ordinances by adding a new procurement method, which is the P3, the Public-Private Partnership. Under a P3, a private entity will engage with the city for typically the build, design, financing, or the operation of some type of qualifying project. Those projects include a parking facility, a sporting facility, recreational facility, or a convention center, or a water or wastewater facility. In this type of situation, the public entity will submit an unsolicited proposal to the city. There is a fee for doing such. It is $25,000. That cost was recommended by an outside firm that the city had hired that conducts a lot of statewide local government law. And the reason for the fee is for costs that the city may incur, for instance, in hiring engineers or hiring architects to evaluate the project or other types of consultants. Now, after the city receives the proposal, they will review it, and if they accept it, what they do is they will then offer other firms to submit proposals for this particular project. And then there is a negotiation stage, an evaluation stage, and then the city would the staff would bring forth the agreement to council. And with that, any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Kohler? Anyone from the Councilmember Albritton with the late hand?
Yeah, well, this occurred to me. We've been talking about P3 partnerships for a while, and we didn't have anything on our code for it. I mean, we're just putting it in now.
Well, there is a statute that discusses P3. So there is a statutory provision that allows local governments to engage in the P3 process.
Okay.
But it is preferable to have it in the code.
You have not had a P3 proposal at this.
Oh, I know, but we've been talking about it for
We have.
years.
The statute was adopted 3 or 4 years ago. And so we decided we ought to put it in our purchasing code and add a few provisions addressing the types of fees, et cetera.
I understand. Thank you.
Anyone from the public to speak to item 9.3? I have a motion.
Motion to approve agenda item 9.3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Ms. Aiken. Thank you, Mr. Kohler.
Ordinance number 9502-21, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 6, Division 3, Purchasing, providing for Section 2.561, Paren 1, Paren K, Subdivision 5, Public-Private Partnerships, Section 2.581, Purpose and Scope, Section 2.582, Definitions, Section 2.583, Conceptual Proposal, Section 2.584, Unsolicited Detailed Proposals, Section 2.585, Solicited Detailed Proposals, Section 2.86, Competitive Review and Negotiation of Detailed Proposals, Section 2.587, Public Records, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Any questions about the ordinance? Motion?
Move to pass ordinance 9502-21 on first reading.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. 9.4.
Approve addendum to employment agreement appointing Micah Maxwell as the interim city manager, effective August 16th, 2021.
Any questions? Anyone to speak to item 9.4? Have a motion?
With a heavy heart, I move approval of agenda item 9.4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Other issues, Mr. Maxwell?
So I have one more. I'm going to ask Emergency Manager Javon Graham to come up and talk to us about a county initiative.
Good evening, Javon Graham, Division Chief of Emergency Management. I'm just here tonight to talk about an opportunity we have as the City of Clearwater to provide a very much needed service to the community. I know some of you were briefed on the opportunity to have for the community the antibody infusions. Last week we were approached about potentially looking for a site. As you know, the governor gave a speech today about opening up as many sites as he can. The antibody infusions truly are helping those who are testing positive for COVID and reducing their symptoms, especially with the hospitals having majority in the hospitalizations unvaccinated, but it is affecting those who are vaccinated as well. The county did reach out to us looking for facilities, buildings, ways that we could potentially help. With looking around and even talking with the late Mr. Horn on Friday, you all know his dedication to trying to help the community and do what we can as a city. One of the locations that we found was the old City Hall in Osceola. While that building is vacant, CDR McGuire and the county, we met at it today to look at the viability of it, and they feel it will be a good site to temporarily use to help provide and take the pressure off the hospitals to give this antibody infusions through to the community. They're looking to do about 300 a day. They only want to use the facility about 10 weeks, and we're here to try and see if we can provide that. So if you have any questions, I'll be free to answer them.
Well, I think we have a moral obligation to do anything we can, and the building is sitting there dormant, so there's great parking. It seems like a waste not to offer it up. Any questions, Chief Graham? Councilmember Beckman?
Is it going to be 7 days a week?
7 days a week, 9 to 5.
Okay. And then the infusion, so that's in your arm?
Yes, ma'am.
Some
It'll
kind
be-
of a drip or something?
Yep, it'll be IV infusion, and it's an hour per person, and it's appointment only at this particular site. A lot of that, I think 15 to 20 minutes of it is the IV, and the rest is recovery, so they make sure you don't have any negative reaction to it.
Okay.
So they only using the first floor, or are they gonna use multiple?
They're going to use a combination of the whole building. Because of the odd layout, how the center corridor is wide open, the old council chambers will be the primary treatment area. The second floor is tentatively going to be where they mix the medication, and the first floor will be receiving and coordination throughout.
Well, it's good to use it for something.
What do you-
Councilmember Albrecht?
When do you think this will go into effect?
They would like to start as early as Sunday. However, there are a few things we want to make sure is prepped beforehand. So Sunday is their best case. Most likely it will be probably Monday around that time.
Is there any cleaning that needs to be done or anything else?
Yeah, there is some minor cleaning, building and maintenance. We were all out there today to see the viability of it, which is why they said they really do want it. So we're going to go through top to bottom, do a good cleaning on it, make sure it's still good. But the AC still works, the ventilation, everything was still good. Code was out there as well to make sure, and it should be a good temporary site.
How does someone contact you for an appointment?
They'll have to go through their doctor, still based on script, and then CDR McGuire is going to be the main ones running the site. We're just allowing the facility.
Any other questions? You don't need a motion for this?
Not.
Okay. Anything else, Mr.
That is all.
Maxwell?
Nope, that is all.
Thank you, Chief Graham. Ms. Aiken, anything else?
No, sir.
Closing comments by council members. I'll start on my right with the Vice Mayor.
Well, we're through the meeting. It's been a tough week. It's not over yet, but the only thing I can say that I haven't already said is thank you, Bill Horn, for making me a better person. I'll leave it at that.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Yeah, this has been a tough week. Our meeting Monday, I think everybody was in shock. Really didn't know what to say. This came on so fast, and certainly felt terrible for Bill's family, his wife, and so forth. And I've had a week to think about this, and it's very odd not having Mr. Horn here at our meetings. In the last 3 years that I've been on council, I've got to know him very closely. He became a friend as well as a mentor, and he certainly does have his stamp on Clearwater. I mean, he's done so much in the history here the last 20 years, to make Clearwater what it is today, and we truly miss him. Tomorrow is his funeral, and I know that there'll be a lot of people there. Saturday, I'm sorry.
Want to make sure people don't
Yeah,
show up tomorrow.
not tomorrow. But I've had people, elected officials all week come to me and tell me how sorry they were to his. So it's affected more than just Clearwater. The whole area has been affected by this. So my prayers go out to his family.
Councilmember Beckman.
So I wrote a few words for my 3 minutes about Bill. One of the first times I spoke to Mr. Horn was after I attended one of my first council meetings. After the meeting, I approached the dais and thanked him for being so attentive and respectful to those who presented or spoke before the council. He made eye contact, he nodded, and just exuded sincere interest and respect. That respect for others really stood out to me. And that's how he was. Respectful, I think, with everyone. Except for this week, I have met one-on-one with Bill every week for an hour or an hour and a half. We would talk about city business, but we also got to know each other, our backgrounds, our philosophies, and our concerns for society as a whole. As we started our meetings and I asked how he was doing, he always communicated how much he loved his job. He said he loved the myriad of challenges and being in the midst of it all. But he also said he was looking forward to retirement and time with his family. And he was ready to use another voice, that of a resident who had things to say. And I was so looking forward to how Bill would continue to impact and improve Clearwater without the constraints of city manager. Bill was a wealth of knowledge about all things Clearwater. He was also knowledgeable about building relationships and obviously the function of government. I can't imagine the struggles I would have had in these early months of my term without Bill's guidance. Bill was smart, measured, ethical, compassionate, hardworking, and wise. I will be forever grateful for the time I spent with Bill and the lessons I learned. My deepest sympathies for his family and all those who were lucky enough to know him.
Councilmember Bunker.
I was out there on the night of the council meeting where it was announced that he had taken the position as city manager. I remember getting up to make my comments and congratulating him and telling him how I always felt he was an honorable, terrific guy, and I'm sure he would do a great job. And then I said something that I'm sure caused a lot of headaches for him over the years. I talked about Scientology, as I did often from that podium, and continue to do now from this side. I got to say, with all the headaches that I produced for him before and after joining, he was nothing but kind and professional and guided me so well. And I learned a lot from him. I learned the real meaning of civil servant. I've been hearing that all my life, that people devote their lives to, the public good. And, he was the living embodiment of it. Could not have been a better person to usher us into this position. I got to tell you, every week I looked forward to our meetings on Tuesday afternoon. And after we got through the business of the city, his eyes would light up. He'd become a fanboy and say, all right, what did you watch this week? And we'd talk about, what was on HBO or Disney Plus, and we'd talk about shows, we'd talk about issues throughout the country, and sometimes they they collided. We both were amazed at how shows like Lovecraft Country could bring a different racial perspective to these science fiction and fantasy shows, and really introduce topics to the general public that perhaps were too uncomfortable in other ways. And we spent a lot of time talking about issues of race and politics, and I really genuinely loved those conversations, learning about his life in Tulsa and hearing about Loretta and the joy that they were going to have in his retirement. It is tragic, but I am so blessed to have had this opportunity to get to know him to the extent I did.
Ms. Aiken, do you have anything to say?
I would, thank you. Briefly, I worked with Bill for 20 years. That was close to 400 Thursday morning breakfasts at Emily's, countless meetings, countless thousands of conversations. What I learned about Bill and what I take from Bill is that never before, never again will I meet a man that had more joy in serving his city, its residents, his church, his profession, and all the community boards and activities he was involved in. The time and energy that he committed to all these things would have crushed a lesser person, but Bill took strength and joy from all that he did, and we are better for it.
Thank you. Mr. Maxwell or Mr. Delk? Don't feel obligated, but
I definitely
And I-
wasn't necessarily prepared for this.
I know that.
But thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Horn provided me my first job as an employee anywhere, really. I mean, post college, as the city manager's intern for the city of Clearwater in 2003, it gave me a great base of knowledge to learn and grow from, and was a mentor for years beyond that period. Pam said it. I mean, he was full of joy, and you always got that smile when he got really excited about something. He just got this giant smile on his head. It was a beautiful thing. And then, of course, when he got surprised, I always thought his eyes were going to pop out of his head. He was so surprised. He was a great man, and I'm going to miss him dearly. Very wonderful person and a great mentor. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I was talking to my wife a few months ago, and Bill's retirement came up, and I said, I think aside from my dad, I have never worked with and for a finer individual in my life than my opportunity to work with Mr. Horn. And I'm sure, knowing where he is today, he is still trying to serve others and make tomorrow a better place, because I think for Bill Horn, that is heaven. I've never seen anybody lived it in the arena with the vigor and the love and the intensity that he brought to work every day that I worked with him for the last 16 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delk. Well, it's amazing all the sentiments that we've received, the emails and texts, literally for several days. My phone would not stop. Bill was a dear friend. We spent a lot of time together, and I look forward to memorializing him on Saturday. I've said a lot of times we could never replace Bill, and that's a fact. But there are so many residuals that have been left by him, and so many good people. that he's brought along. He's just been a huge blessing in so many people's lives. And I thank God for putting him in my path. We just continue to pray for Loretta and the rest of the family as they're dealing with this loss. It seems so unfair. But we will give him a good going home ceremony this Saturday, and I hope people can make it to Calvary at 11. And if not, they can go on our website and view it online as well if they're uncomfortable being indoors. There's a couple other things, though, that I just do want to mention. You know, we have another wonderful person in this city that we celebrated her 80th birthday yesterday, Barb Green from HEP. She, very much like Mr. Horn, has changed the landscape of Clearwater forever and for the better. So many people have broken the chain of homelessness because of Barb Green, HEP, preacher, her former husband who's passed away. We're just so very, very blessed to have people like that. And I think that's the challenge that Mr. Horn leaves behind. A challenge that we ought to give back to our community. That we have a duty to do so. To go out of our way to help other people. And to volunteer some of our time to leave the place that we all love and call home just a little bit better. So let's continue to keep Mr. Horn in our heart and the challenge that he gives us today. God bless you all. We appreciate you tuning in. We are adjourned.